Boston, Massachusetts versus Greenville, North Carolina.
I'm so excited for this video because I talk fast because I was born in Charlestown. So talking about Boston again makes me feel awesome because I get to talk about my old home, and now I get to talk about my new home. So I get lots of things to talk about. And we are going to talk about the differences between Greenville, North Carolina and where I am from, Boston, Massachusetts, because there is a lot going on and a lot different.
Exactly. Therefore, really, as my wife said, we have a lot of things to talk about. And first, we wanted to focus on cost of living. Of course, we wanted to, let's start with the big item, like housing. Housing actually is significantly cheaper in Greenville, North Carolina. Our minimum value in the area is something between $237 to $242 in Greenville, North Carolina, and we are still in the 60th percentile of the national average in the housing prices. Versus what is about the Boston?
Boston's just ridiculous, as we all know. It's 351% above the national average. To be honest, the home that I grew up in, that my parents paid $150,000. I was a kid, it was the 80s. It's now worth well over $1 million. So it just tells you significant differences, and I think it's much more than that, but significant differences in what houses were, what they are, and what they are here in Greenville. So renting buying a home is so much more easier in Greenville. The second thing I want to talk about is food, right? I understand in Massachusetts we do not tax the food, and that is one of the biggest shocks we're going to get when you move down here. You're going to have a tax on the food, but our prices are going to be cheaper. So the cost of living in Greenville is at the 95.5. Massachusetts for housing, for food and groceries is 118, which means you are, even with that tax, still saving money on groceries as well.
Exactly. Let's talk about utilities. Actually, for most of houses, not 100%, but most of the houses in Greenville, we have under umbrella of Greenville utility, meaning that electric, gas, trash, sewer, water, and gas is going to be under one umbrella of the Greenville utility. That's one of the things that we love when we moved here, that we just received one bill, but as I said, is not for 100% of the homes.
I also want to add, I remember growing up, a lot of people had oil in their basement in order to heat their homes. First of all, we don't have basements here. That's step one. And step two, nobody really uses oil around here, so there's no oil company for heat. We are much gentler weather, which we're going to get to later, but because it's we still have the four seasons, but it is not Massachusetts cold, you do not have those skyrocketing heating bills. We typically have HVAC systems, which is heating and air conditioning all in one in our houses. So our houses are going to automatically have central air. Another thing to talk about is transportation.
How much is the difference in the utilities?
Therefore,
the utilities actually, Greenville is around national average. However, the Boston are 127 point, which is way above the national average. That's the difference that I wanted to clear here. Next, my wife is talking about transportation.
Now, driving in Boston is a nightmare. What is amazing about Boston is the transportation system. I grew up on the orange line. I did use the red line sometimes, green line every so often. I never really went to the blue line. The purple line, as I called it, the Amtrak, those are also nice things to do as well, but it's really, you have mass transportation there where we don't really have mass transportation here. Exactly. If you do use the bus here in Greenville, it is free, but it is very rare that you see a lot of people using a bus. We drive everywhere. And so you're going to really just look at the transportation cost of the national averages is still lower than the national average here, but you are going to be driving, so we expect that.
Therefore, we wanted to say that at the filming of this video, the gas price is like a $2.63 in Greenville per gallon. And all of the anything that is related to car mechanic, car insurance, we are at 75.4 percentile of national average, below the national average. And if you're looking at the Boston, we are 132 point, which is way above the national average. And you can confirm that the Greenville, from transportation point of view, is way cheaper than the Boston.
Hi, it's Victoria. Welcome to our channel and podcast.
And if this is your first time in our podcast and YouTube channel, make sure you subscribe and get notified.
Also, you call text all the time, 252-327-3357. We love talking to you. Don't be shy. Also, grab our buyer's guide and seller's guide in the description below. Now, let's talk about population. Of course, the population of the city.
Did you compare the
No, you can do it if you want to do the math. Go ahead.
Exactly. Therefore, Overall, Greenville cost of living, we are at a little bit over 84 percentile respect to the national average. However, if you look at Boston, we are in the 162.4%, which is almost double of the Greenville from the cost of living point of view.
Now let's talk about Boston, the city on the hill, right? It has 700,000 people in it and then 4 million people surrounding Boston because it is, of course, the major city. Greenville, we're not the major city. We're like, I would say we're an outlier of Raleigh, but Raleigh's pretty far away because we're our own city here, which is lovely. But Greenville is much smaller. It's 108,695 people. So if you're looking for way less crowded, Greenville is definitely the place. 100%. We get nice backyards. We have places to have barbecue. Exactly. Now talk to me more about housing prices.
Exactly. Therefore, we wanted to talk about a little bit deeper about the housing. And for example, if you're looking at the just cost of renting for one suite, one bedroom, two bedroom, we were talking about like $1,100 to $1,200 in Greenville, North Carolina. And if you're looking at Boston for two bedroom apartment, you're looking at something around $3,500. Therefore, you see that gap. I'm just saying the average. Yeah, right. And then also, average home price in Boston is close to $800,000, something like between $780 to $800. And as we said, the minimum value and the average, really, you can talk about something between $240,000 to $250,000. That's the average in the home prices here. Therefore, you will see the significant difference in the housing and rent market in the Greenville respect to the Boston.
Now, salaries, Boston has a lot of education, healthcare, tech sectors. You're going to get $75,000. Greenville, we have a lot of the same sections: education, healthcare, tech, but you're not going to get your Boston salary here. You're going to get about half of that, which means the cost of living is lower in Greenville. So that money, even though it's half, is going to give you much more. Because let's just think of it alone. If you're getting half your salary, but your housing prices is 1/4, you actually get to keep more of your money.
Exactly. Now we were talking about commuting time. The commuting time is actually also different in Greenville. Really, you can go from one side to another side of Greenville in 20 to 30 minutes. I'm saying 20 minutes. But the average commuting really for people that they living here is 21 minutes. Of course, it depends on the traffic. That's the maximum. And if you're looking at the commuting time, average commuting time in Boston is 30 minutes. Of course, my wife have talked about all those good
I want to mention about the public transportation as well in Boston. Is I know when I was growing up and I would be on like the subway or the Lawrence line, I would know from just how many from the jerks and the pulls of the whole thing and how many steps we've gotten to, how many places where I actually had to open my eyes to go. So it is lovely to have a nice place where I can read, I can sleep, I can have that time, but it is also time that I don't get to be at home. The next thing I'm going to talk about is taxes. Massachusetts has a state income tax of 5%. Greenville in North Carolina has 5.2. It's very similar. So really, we're not switching much of that.
What about the property tax?
Property taxes in Massachusetts is a little different because you can actually get a generational home. So you can buy a home, if it's been in your family, you can be paying $20 because your family bought it in 1776. So your property taxes have never increased because it stayed in the family. So that makes it a really exceptional place.
In Pitt County, especially in Greenville, North Carolina, for every $100, we have something between 90 cents to $1 of the property tax. Therefore, you can pretty much calculate for the property that you are buying. For example, for $250,000 is going to be around $2,400 per year. That property taxes.
Now let's talk about community. In Massachusetts, we always greet each other by talking about our sports teams. Let's be entirely honest. Red Sox season, Patriots season, Bruins season. We are always very friendly in Massachusetts as long as we're talking about our sports teams. Greenville, definitely not about this. We do have our sports teams, of course, but we are more of a college town. It's much more slower pace. It is not this high moving, everything has to be fast. Whereas in Massachusetts, you know all your neighbors. Here, you might not know all your neighbors. It's going to be the community that you build for yourself, and that is really kind of a huge difference. Everybody's here friendly. It's going to be a waving hello, but it's not the same.
Exactly.
And let's talk about outdoor activities.
You can talk about outdoor activities in Boston.
Okay, so in Massachusetts, everything's different. We go to the beach for Cape Cod. It's kind of similar here. We're going to go to the beach. It's going to be a little bit of a drive to get to the beach. I can't take one to the on the blue line. Yes, we have the Charles River in Boston. That's lovely. We do have a Greenville Tar River here. They are kind of building it up, but because we have more mild weather and we have slower paces, and we can get to Massachusetts has a lot of similarities, and we can get to the beach, we can get to the mountains, but it's much more slower here, and it's a lot more mild around here. So it's a little bit more enjoyable, at least to me.
Exactly. Did you put anything about the weather now that you talk about weather? I don't think so.
No, but the weather, we're much more mild. Massachusetts has really, really cold winters.
Therefore, definitely we wanted to talk about that. In Greenville, we have a very mild weather. We have 4 seasons, of course. Now we are filming this video actually toward the 3rd week of October. Still, we are in the 72, 73 Fahrenheit. And our winter doesn't get really bad. We might have like a 2-3 days of cold, but every couple days the temperature changes, go back to like a 50s, 60s. But we might have something around 30, 32 for a couple days in Greenville. And in the last 2 years, we never had any snow. The first year that we moved here, we have like a 1 or 2 inches of snow and melted in like a 2-3 hours right away. Therefore, we didn't have that opportunity to make like a snowballs or anything around
I am
here.
going to add in the hurricane factor, because that is going to be something. We are both technically coastal cities area. Greenville, we can both get hurricanes. I've heard my grandparents talking about hurricanes. However, Greenville is prepared for storms that might come. Our housing codes are there. Boston, way less likely, which means it's going to be there. Plus, we have much more milder weather, so it's much less cold around here. Last thing I want to quickly say is there's a lot of diversity in the South. People just think the South is one thing. It's not. It's actually a very diverse place. Of course, Boston's an international city with people from all over the world, with food from all over the world. But what's nice is a little bit more. We're diverse, and we're more. Our neighbors are our neighbors, and everything is more interconnected in that way.
Do you want to talk about the Southern culture?
The Southern culture versus the Massachusetts culture, we'll end with that. Of course, Southern culture, we have to learn how to talk a little bit more, really adjust to talk slower. I'm not saying you have to adopt the Southern accent, but we do have to be able to be understood, which means we have to find a way to use our words in a slower pace, and that's not a bad thing. So if you are moving from Boston to Greenville, I would love to talk to you. I sped up already, because we can talk about home. I would love that. And so I would love to talk to you.
Exactly. Don't forget to look at all of our video playlists. We'd love to help you about relocation, guide to Greenville, and how to purchase the house in Greenville, how to sell and buy a house. We'd love to connect with you. Don't forget to subscribe in our channel and support us. See you next time.